Have you ever looked at an old Japanese car on the road? One with faded paint, worn seats, scratches everywhere. But when the driver turns the key, it fires up instantly. The engine sounds smooth and it drives like it's still young. There's a reason for that. Japanese cars are famous for lasting absurdly long distances. You can find Toyotas with 1 million kilometers, Hondas hitting 800,000, Nissan taxis crossing 500,000 with no engine rebuild. And people often think it's magic engineering or some special technology hidden inside the car, but it's not. The truth is simpler and way more powerful. There's a trick, a mindset, a philosophy, something that Japanese drivers have been doing for decades. And once you understand it, you can make any car last longer. American, German, Korean, Chinese, doesn't matter. Because this trick isn't about what car you drive, it's about how you treat it. Let's start with the foundation of Japanese automotive culture, the word motinai. This isn't just a word, it's a way of thinking deeply embedded in Japanese society. Motinai means don't waste. Don't waste time, don't waste resources, don't waste opportunities, and definitely don't waste the life of a machine. This mindset is why so many Japanese families keep their cars for decades. They don't view a car as something temporary. It's something you respect, maintain, and keep alive. If something feels off, they fix it before it becomes a disaster. They treat a car the same way a musician treats their instrument, with discipline and care. And that philosophy flows into everything they do with their vehicles. While in many countries people only think about their car when something goes wrong, Japanese drivers think about their car before anything goes wrong. They don't wait for breakdowns. They prevent them. They don't ignore tiny symptoms, they investigate them. A clicking noise, a rough vibration, a small leak, none of these are ignored. And that's why their cars rarely suffer big failures. In other parts of the world, people will say, "It's fine, I'll fix it later." They'll drive around with weird noises until the problem explodes into something catastrophic and expensive. A tiny oil leak becomes a seized engine. A worn-out belt becomes a snapped belt that damages the valves. A bad thermostat overheats the engine. A weak battery destroys alternators. But Japanese drivers catch issues early, and early fixes save engines. And then comes the discipline Japanese drivers have with maintenance schedules. They treat the maintenance book almost like a contract. Oil changes are performed exactly at the recommended mileage, not earlier, not months later. If the book says change the spark plugs at 100,000 kilometers, that's exactly when it's done. If the book says replace coolant at 60,000 kilometers, they do it. They don't stretch maintenance. They don't gamble. They don't wait until something starts acting up. They maintain the car in advance, like a preventive strike against future damage. Contrast that with many drivers who think oil changes are optional, or that replacing filters is just a suggestion. That's the difference between a car dying at 200,000 kilometers and a car reaching 1 million. Japanese drivers also understand one of the biggest killers of an engine: cold starts. When you start a cold engine, the oil is thick and sitting at the bottom of the engine. It hasn't circulated yet. And when you put a cold engine under load, accelerating hard, revving high, you're literally grinding metal against metal. This microscopic damage accumulates over years. Japanese drivers know this. That's why they treat cold starts gently. They start the engine, wait a moment, and drive smoothly until the temperature needle reaches normal. They don't floor it. They don't rev hard. They let the engine reach its ideal operating temperature. This simple habit drastically increases engine life. And that smooth driving style continues even after the car is warmed up. Japanese drivers don't slam the gas pedal at every green light. They don't make violent accelerations or sudden harsh stops. They keep everything smooth, accelerating smoothly, braking smoothly, turning smoothly. Smooth driving protects the transmission, engine mounts, suspension, bearings, fuel injectors, and even tire wear. If you look at Japanese taxi drivers, you'll see the same thing. They drive thousands of kilometers per month, but their cars last because they treat every component with respect. Another trick the Japanese follow involves using high-quality, original parts. When something needs replacement, they go straight for OEM parts. They won't gamble on cheap alternatives just to save a few dollars. They understand the long-term cost of using low-quality parts. A cheap sensor can feed incorrect data to the engine. A cheap gas filter can clog early. A cheap belt can snap prematurely. A cheap oil filter can let contaminants pass through. Japanese drivers avoid those risks. Investing in original parts ensures the engine stays healthy and consistent. But here's something else most people miss. Japanese drivers keep their engines clean from the inside. They change oil early. They keep the oil filter fresh. They replace air filters more frequently than recommended. They fuel with clean and trusted stations. They keep fuel injectors clean. Clean combustion means fewer carbon buildup issues. Less carbon means fewer misfires, less strain on valves, smoother idle, and longer life of oxygen sensors and catalytic converters. And speaking of cleaning, Japanese drivers also take rust prevention seriously. Japan has rainy seasons, salty air, and snow. Rust is a constant threat. So, Japanese owners regularly inspect their underbody, apply rust-proof coatings, and wash off salt after driving on treated roads. Rust can quietly kill a car, eating brake lines, weakening suspension mounts, corroding frames, but they stop rust early, preventing the car from rotting away. Japanese owners also pay close attention to fluids: transmission fluid, coolant, brake fluid, power steering fluid. They don't let these fluids stay dirty for years. They check levels often, they top up when needed, they replace fluids before they become contaminated. This small habit prevents overheating, corrosion, steering pump failure, and brake system wear. Another big habit the Japanese follow is not overloading their vehicles. They don't drag heavy loads constantly. They don't tow beyond the rated limit. They understand that every extra kilogram adds stress to the engine, brakes, and suspension. By keeping their loads within safe limits, the car stays balanced and mechanically healthy. Then there's tire discipline. Japanese drivers keep their tires properly inflated. They check pressure often. They keep alignment straight. They rotate tires on time. This reduces strain on the steering rack, wheel bearings, and suspension parts. When tires are bad, the whole car suffers, but Japanese owners keep tires like new. All of these habits combine into one powerful formula for car longevity. And here's the part people often overlook. Japanese drivers treat car care like a routine lifestyle, not an inconvenience. They don't see maintenance as a burden, they see it as protection. They invest a little now to avoid massive problems later. That's why their cars keep running when others die prematurely. Japanese engineering is good, yes, but the myth of Japanese cars lasting forever is not just engineering. It's culture, it's discipline, it's consistency. The trick that makes Japanese cars hit 1 million kilometers is the way Japanese drivers treat their cars. One of the biggest secrets that keeps Japanese cars running past 1 million kilometers is attention to subtle habits most drivers don't even think about. These are tiny, almost invisible things that, over years, make a huge difference. For example, Japanese drivers avoid letting their cars sit unused for long periods. Even if they only drive a few kilometers a day, they make sure the car is started and taken for a short drive regularly. Why? Cars are made to move. Letting oil, fuel, and fluids sit for weeks or months can cause corrosion, sludge buildup, and fuel degradation. Short drives keep the oil circulating, keep the seals lubricated, and prevent fuel from going stale. Another small but important habit is gentle braking. Instead of slamming the brakes at the last second, Japanese drivers anticipate stops and gradually reduce speed. This not only preserves brake pads and rotors, but it also reduces stress on the suspension and wheel bearings. Over tens of thousands of kilometers, these small habits prevent the kind of wear that leads to squeaky brakes, warped rotors, or even suspension failures. Japanese drivers also pay attention to engine load management. They avoid towing heavy loads or carrying extreme weight frequently. They understand that even small amounts of extra stress, repeated thousands of times, shorten engine and transmission life. Driving with a heavy load occasionally isn't a problem, but the key is consistency. They never push the car beyond its natural limits day after day. A huge part of longevity also comes from driving style on highways. Japanese drivers are known for smooth, consistent speeds. They rarely accelerate and decelerate aggressively. Instead, they maintain a steady pace, often using cruise control when possible. This reduces stress on the engine, transmission, and even tires. Engines run cooler and transmissions shift smoothly when the speed is consistent, which means fewer breakdowns and longer life. And then there's the habit of listening to your car, really listening. Japanese drivers know their car's sounds, smells, and feel so well that they can detect tiny changes before they become major problems. A faint whistle, a slight vibration, or a new smell is a signal to check immediately. They don't ignore warning signs, and they don't wait until the check engine light forces them to act. This proactive mindset catches problems early, which is the single most important factor in long-term durability. Another factor is climate and storage care. In Japan, many owners keep their cars in garages or covered areas when possible. They understand that sun, moisture, and temperature swings accelerate wear on the exterior, interior, and mechanical components. Paint, rubber seals, and plastics all last longer, and engines aren't subjected to extreme thermal stress when stored properly. Even simple habits like covering the car during heavy rain or avoiding parking directly under a harsh sun contribute to longevity. And here's the real truth. Any car from any country can live just as long if you follow the same mindset. Respect the machine. Don't ignore symptoms. Keep it clean, keep it maintained, keep it protected. If you follow the Japanese method, your car could easily outlive your expectations. If you found these Japanese car secrets useful, hit that like button, share this video with a friend who loves cars, and drop a comment telling me the highest kilometers your car has ever reached. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, because next time we're diving into 5 car hacks mechanics don't want you to know that can save you thousands. Your car can last 1,000,000 kilometers. You just have to treat it the right way. Start today.